Hey, what's up, everybody? It's hashtag homeless. It's day 25. Pretty sure it's day 25. I'm really like, unless I go to YouTube and actually check the day number, it's just all a blur right now. I do have, I did kind of think of a topic to talk about today. That's something that might be useful for people. Came to my mind last night, and it was something that I said I was going to talk about in one of these videos. But before I get started with that, I think I'll just start out with the plugs. Shop.litgood.com is where you can go if, people in the comments are like, where can we send money? Where can we help out? Well, if that's what you really want to do, you can go to shop.litgood.com and check out the 4 photographs I have for sale in various sizes. I'm going to expand that store. Within a year, there will be over 100 images to pick from on that store. If you go to litgood.com without shop at the beginning, just straight up litgood.com, you can see some of my photography and the type of stuff that I shoot. And if any of those images catch your fancy, just reach out to me with a private message, either through the website or any other. I'm not hard to find. There are a bunch of links in the description. If you're on YouTube, if you're on TikTok, I just don't care. Like, I upload stuff to TikTok, but that app is such a buggy piece of trash. I try not to do much with it, and I really don't care what happens with TikTok. It's really just a backup platform right now. I'm going to start using Rumble as the backup to YouTube. But Rumble, every time I go to upload a video to Rumble from this phone, it never works. So the process of getting a video onto Rumble is a pain. It's painful. It's time consuming. I just don't have time for it. I barely have time to sit here and shoot these videos. Signs from above. I got 2 pretty good signs today that being forced to move to Pittsburgh is probably a good thing. I'm ready to get out of here. It's frigid. It's so cold today that it's starting to feel like winter here in western New York, in the southern tier of New York, and it's the middle of June, and I'm freezing. I'm wearing a sweater here, and I need a coat. It's that cold. It's ridiculously cold, and it just reminds me how depressing this part of New York is, and how, I used to visit here all the time, but I could go home. That was what made it all right. But when you're stuck, oh man, it's just, I'm looking at boarded up houses and just rundown stuff everywhere I look, and it's just, Pittsburgh's got its own problems, but it's warmer today. I'm positive it's warmer down there today. So that's number 1. Number 2, I had an appointment on Friday with this job searching coach. It's like a government, I don't know how connected it is to the government, but it's a place where you can go get help with your job search, and they're pretty nice people and everything, but I had an appointment for Friday, and it was like 2 p.m, and I showed up 10 minutes early, and they said, you don't have an appointment today. They're looking all through the computer, and they're kind of giving me a little bit of an attitude, and they turn around and say, your appointment was yesterday, Thursday. And I'm like, no, I know it was Friday, but I didn't cop these people any kind of attitude. I sucked up to the fact that maybe I made a mistake, but I'm pretty good with, if someone makes an appointment with me, I put it in my calendar right away, and I don't forget these things. I'm very, very unlikely to forget an appointment that's made with anybody for anything. Very unlikely. So, but, I gave them the benefit of the doubt, and I said, well, maybe it was Thursday, and maybe I made a mistake. And they said, well, we can reschedule it for Monday, 11 o'clock. How's that sound? And I said, that's fine. No big deal. So here it's Monday. I'm at the library. I'm trying to be productive. Have to pack up everything to go to this appointment. And I'm 15 minutes early for the appointment again on Monday. And once again, they start copping me this attitude about, you're not in our system, you don't have an appointment today, and all this and that. And I'm like, no, I definitely have an appointment today. I have a business card that they filled out on the back, and it says Monday, 11 a.m. Straight up, I have an appointment. Once again, I didn't cop these people an attitude. I'm just telling you, I had an appointment today at 11 a.m. And so I get there, and they're like, the same rigmarole. Go sit over there while we figure this out. You're not in our system, et cetera, et cetera. Your appointment's not until tomorrow at 11 a.m. And so this time I reached into my folder and I pulled out the business card, and I just went up and I said, well, the business card that you gave me, and I gave it to the person who gave it to me on Friday, and I said, according to the business card that you handed me on Friday, my appointment was today at 11, see? And, I just wanted to point out that now I'm firmly convinced that my appointment really was Friday. And so this is either just people telling me one thing and doing another. I don't want to use, there's words I just don't, I'm trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. But there is a part of me that wonders, are they just blowing me off and doing this on purpose so that I'll just say, you know what, forget it, and just not come back? I really don't believe that. But, 3 times in a row, if I come in tomorrow and they tell me that I don't have an appointment, we're done. We're done. I'll never walk back in that place again. But I just walked out of there and I looked around. I'm freezing. It was starting to rain when I was going to sit and do this video. And I'm just looking around and I'm like, you know what? This is just another sign that God is putting in front of me to say, you're not going to be here that much longer. And I'm just showing you a million reasons why you don't want to be here. Because, there's the library's a nice library here. There's some other things in this town. The place where I got a sub the other day with my EBT, I walked down to this one grocery store. There's one decent place to get food when you have that stupid card, and they make subs, and the subs are just the bomb. It's called Farm Fresh Foods. I'll plug these people. Their subs are great. Farm Fresh Foods in Jamestown, great subs. They have it's like the exact balance of meat and cheese, and when you ask for mayo, they don't slather it all. They give you the right amount of everything. It all blends together. The bread is nice and fresh and soft, and they have like 8 different kinds of bread to pick from, and you get an 8-inch sub from this place and you're going to be full. Like, there's a couple of times I got a little side salad or something to go with my sub. And I learned within 1 or 2 subs, don't do that, because the sub is enough. The sub is you're going to be full for the day off of one of these subs. So forget Subway, man. This place is where it's at. I will walk to this place to get a sub maybe I'll go there today. It might make me feel better. But I'm not really hungry right now, and I don't know. We'll see what happens throughout the day. But I'm 8 minutes in. So the thing I wanted to talk about, it's probably going to take another 10 minutes, maybe 15, I don't know. I talked about creative thinking when you're in a jam. And I briefly talked about how, in another video, or maybe a couple of videos, how I started a business on Craigslist. A lot of people tell me in the comments, just start your own business, do your own thing. Somebody suggested start a lawn mowing business. I'm like, okay, when you're home, now I just want to use a little bit of logic here. I'm going to start a lawn mowing business when I'm homeless. So I'm going to be lugging around a lawnmower and a weed whacker and all. Where am I going to keep all this stuff? How am I going to pay for all this stuff? And, how am I going to get around to mow all these lawns? And like, logistically, how does that work when you're homeless? I don't even have a place to I don't even have an apartment to hide a lawnmower and a weed whacker inside of. So no, I'm not going to start a lawn mowing business right now. I did start a photography store, and I've done just a little bit on that. I'm looking for jobs. Oh, shut the... Oh, I hate this place. Everything is a lot louder when you're sitting here than what comes through the microphone. It's distracting. But anyway, if they tell me what day I'm going to be moving back to Pittsburgh, even though I don't have a home, even though I don't have a place to live, and I have no idea what chaos I'm in store for, I will start filling out job applications while I'm here in Jamestown, and I will do whatever I can do to have some interviews lined up. Hopefully I can get some job interviews in place, within a day or two after getting to town. I think the first day back in Pittsburgh, I just don't think it's gonna work that day, but maybe day 2, maybe my first whole day in the city, I could go on some interviews and get maybe maybe get rolling on that. But I need to know when they're making me move. Because until then, I don't know. I can't just pick up and move when I want to move. They're going to tell me when to move. I don't have a choice in this matter. But at the same time, God's just throwing signs in my face one after the next that you'll be better off if you get out of Jamestown. He's going to come through. I know this is his plan. I mean, unless something comes along to change that, which it could. I have irons in the fire here. I've got a job interview on Wednesday here in Jamestown. So, I'm leaving all options on the table, but I have this strong feeling like God wants me to go be closer to my kids. Pittsburgh is more of a home for me than New York. I don't like New York. I do like Pennsylvania. I've been a fan of Western PA for years. At first, I didn't like it when I moved there, but it grew on me, and I definitely miss a lot of things about Pittsburgh. So I will not be upset about living there again if that's what God wants me to do. As long as I can get a roof over my head and take care of the basics, from there I'm good, come what may. So, all the suggestions about starting a business when you're in a jam. I'm going to tell you a story about how I did that on Craigslist. And it almost turned into something bigger. But this was the stock market crash of 2008. I had been working for myself for a number of years, running my own freelance business. And the best way to sum up what happened during, this is back in 2008 when they flushed the toilet on the economy, and all the people that did it to us, all the banksters and all the financial racketeers that threw the economy into a tailspin, they all got bailouts, and we paid them back for the money that they lost. And then we all suffered, and we all lost our jobs, and we all had to go through hell for a couple of years because of it. So, for example, I was doing work for a major bank as a freelancer. And now this major bank was not insolvent. The federal government gave them $8 billion, $7 billion, B with a B, billion. The government gave them $7 billion of bailout money in order for them to buy a failing bank. And there's some more I could go into detail with that, but the government just gave this bank $7 billion. Now, I'm submitting invoices of a few $1,000s at a time to this bank that I'm working for, and normally they pay their bills quickly. But now they're taking 3 to 4 months to pay their bills. And so they're 4 months late on my invoices. And I'm about to be homeless. I'm literally being threatened by my landlord that I'm going to get kicked out of my house and thrown in the street. I've got a week to come up with rent. And if I don't get it in his hands by the end of the week, he's going to evict me. This bank owes me for like 3 invoices, one of which is 4 months late. So I get in touch with my client at the bank and I say, I got a question. I'm like, if I was 4 months late on my mortgage with your bank, Would you have foreclosed on my house already? I'm just curious about that, because if I don't get paid for these invoices that you're 4 months late paying, I'm going to have to shut off the websites that I have control over. And I'm just going to turn them off. And then, we can deal with it from there. I got a little testy because this is 4 months. And it's 4 months late from a bank that just got handed $7 billion from the government, our tax money. And they can't pay a few $1,000s for an invoice within a span of 4 months. They're just holding on to this money and not paying their bills. It's okay for them to do that to me, but if I had a mortgage with this bank and I didn't pay my mortgage for 4 months, I'd be out in the street and they would take my house. So I'm like, I'm going to take back your property that I have the keys to in my hand. Well, that turned into, I got paid within about 3 or 4 days of that angry phone call. And aside from that, I never worked for that bank again. They never gave me another freelance project. And for about 5 or 6 years, this bank accounted for 80% of my business. But as soon as the stock market crash happened, they were just acting ridiculous and they wouldn't pay their bills. And, like I said, they had the money. They had billions of dollars to do so. And so I was bitter. And I was like, you know what? We're done here. I'm not going to put up with this anymore. And so, but because I went at them and tried and forced them to pay me, they decided, well, we're not going to give him any more business. Which, fine. I had so many clients go out of business during that period of time that everything was in shambles. So here we are. I'm still trying to figure out how to pay the rent by the end of the week. And I had a collection of bicycles. I was really heavily into cycling at the time, and at this period in time, I could go to thrift stores and yard sales and pick up really nice bicycles for pennies on the dollar. I'm talking like $10, $15 for bicycles that I would turn around and sell for $100, $200, collectible Schwinn's from the 1960s and 70s. I bought a Schwinn road racing bike from the 70s and for, I think it was $12. And I sold the saddle, just the seat on the bike. I sold that for like $80, just the seat. So I was wheeling and dealing with these bicycles. I had a basement bike shop. I had a pretty large basement at this house, bicycles hanging up all over the place. So one thing I was doing is putting the bicycles up for sale on Craigslist and just trying to liquidate everything down there. But I had a full bike shop, all the tools, pretty much everything that you would need to work on bicycles. And so I put up an ad on Craigslist one day. I did a little bit of research. I looked at what the local bike shops charged for tune-ups and repairs. And I put an ad on Craigslist that day, pick-up and delivery bike repair service. And I said, and it was spring. It was the perfect time of year to try this. It was early spring, like we're talking like late April, early May. And people are just dusting off their bicycles and wanting to go for rides. And so I said, I'll come and pick up your bicycle within a certain distance for free. And your a tune-up costs this much. And I put a few different prices in. If it needs anything else, we'll talk over the phone, etc. And I'll deliver it back to you when the bicycle's done. And so that was on, let's just say that was like a Tuesday morning that I posted this ad. One of the things that I found out real quick was that people were all over it. I got so many requests within an hour. Within 1 hour of putting up this ad, I was bombarded with emails and phone calls. One thing, because it's on Craigslist, people didn't trust me. So they wanted to bring their bicycle to my place. So 2/3 of the bicycles that I worked on during the course of this business idea, people brought to me. I didn't have to go deliver and pick up bikes. And I'll tell you for a fact, on day one of opening this bicycle repair business, I was able to pay my rent, that day. I was able to pay my rent that day, and I was walking, within a day or two, I was walking around with a wad of cash of about $500 or more, cash, money, in my pocket at all times. The whole time I was doing this bicycle repair thing, I didn't have to go to an ATM machine once. And I started to think to myself, I should turn this into a bona fide, like, legit business. And so I started to do more homework. And one of the problems I ran into is I was only getting paid for my labor. Anytime that the bike, that the customers needed parts, tires, tubes, cables, chains, the basic parts, I would have to go to a bicycle shop and pick them up. And there was one local bicycle shop that I loved. The guy who owned it, I loved the guy. I would go there for all my needs. And I was buying so much stuff from him for these repairs that he was giving me little discounts. And this guy, it's a guy in Pittsburgh, Kranix Bike Shop. I don't even know if it's still there. The guy who owns it, he lets people go in there and use his tools. And he doesn't work on bikes. If you want to get your bike fixed at his shop, he'll give you all the tools that you need. And he has workstations set up for everybody. And he'll come and teach you how to fix your own bike. So there were times that I didn't have the right tool to fix someone's bike, and I would go there, use one of his tools to do the job, buy some stuff from him, and go back home to my own shop. Another problem I ran into is the fanboys. On Craigslist, there were people that would flag my ad. My ad would disappear. I'd have to post my ad 3 times a day because a group of people and then people were posting ads under the same category saying, don't go to this guy who's putting up these ads because he's taking away business from local bike shops. Go to Kranix Bike Shop to get your work done on your bike. And I'm like, so I reposted my ad. I'm like, all the parts that I'm buying to fix these bikes, I'm buying from him. And like, this is a symbiotic relationship. I'm bringing business to other shops in the area because I can't. One of the problems of starting that business is there's basically 2 major distributors of bicycle parts in America. I don't know the names off the top of my head, but they only deal with brick and mortar bicycle shops, and in order to get a distributorship through them, you have to have all kinds of liability insurance, and you have to have a brick and mortar store, signage. You know, you have to be in a commercial space. They won't touch you. They will not deal with you. They will not sell anything to you at wholesale prices. So I just could not make any kind of profit off of the parts that I was selling. I was only getting paid for the labor that I put in on fixing the bikes. And so that was an obstacle of turning that into a more lucrative, like, full-time kind of a business. There were workarounds for it. I was looking into those workarounds. There were some people that would sell to me at just above wholesale, but I would have to order through them, and then they would order from the wholesalers, and then the wholesale orders would get delivered to them, and at which point they would have to be shipped to me. People were going to be waiting for their bikes to get repaired for up to 2 weeks for parts to show up, and so that wasn't an option. And I even got to the point where there was a local bicycle rental business in downtown Pittsburgh that was for sale, and it was affordable. I could have bought it. But the problem that I ran into when I was considering this option to expand and actually own a bike shop, all of this talk was happening in September. And so September's not a good time to have a grand opening on a bicycle shop. You're not going to make $1 until spring hits. It's a seasonal business, and it was the end of the season. And I'm like, I'm going to sink all this money into this bike shop, and then I've got to ride through the whole winter before I ever make $1 back. And on top of that, I shut down my freelance business, but I picked up a job in my line of work. And it was a job that led to major steps in my career and a whole new career path for me. And so I just kind of shut down sometime, at the end of the summer. I shut down the bike repair business after gradually kind of phasing it out and taking fewer and fewer bikes. But I came up with this idea. I posted the ad in a single morning. It was just an act of sheer desperation almost. And I kid you not, by the end of that very first day, I had money in my pocket. Rent was paid. For the entire first week, I had so many bicycles to work on that I was putting in 8 to 10 hours a day working on bicycles, delivering bicycles, picking up bicycles, fixing them, bringing them back. I churned through, I could have easily done 30 to 50 bicycles within the first week or maybe 2 weeks. I mean, it was straight up, I had as much business as a bicycle shop would get in the spring. Just people were dropping off bikes left and right. And some of the bikes needed full overhauls. They didn't just need a simple tune-up. They needed some serious work. And, I was making a couple $100 off of some of these bikes. And so that's just the kind of creative thinking that if you're in a jam, just analyze your situation. Think about what can I offer people? What can I do? What can I actually do logistically? Starting a bicycle repair business is not something I can do when I'm homeless and I don't have any tools and I don't have a workspace. And, that's not something I can do right now. But that kind of creative thinking and that kind of just sit down and brainstorm. There's no such thing as a bad idea when you sit down to brainstorm. Come up with as many ridiculous ideas as you can think of. I'm saying have a goal to just come up with 50 random ideas of what can I do to make money if you're in a jam. I'm going to do that myself. I've been doing that myself. Even if 49 out of the 50 ideas are terrible or just something you can't do, it's a lot easier to pick the diamond out of the pile of ideas than it is to just sit with a blank piece of paper and try to come up with something good when you're afraid to write anything down in the first place because you don't think it's good enough. Usually the way brainstorming works is you start writing things down, the ideas are terrible, and then after a certain amount of time, those ideas trigger more ideas and your brain starts to kind of think creatively, and before you know it, you're coming up with good ideas. And now your list is starting to fill up with good ideas and light bulbs are going off in your head, and you, before you know it, you might find the key to unlock the door that gets you out of the situation that you're in. So, just some advice, some possibly useful advice there, and just a story from my past of how I got myself out of a jam by just thinking creatively one day, and it just took off. I mean, I really did not expect to work on more than a few bicycles, and before I knew it, I had a pile of 30 bicycles waiting in line, and I had to tell people, well, it's going to take about, it's probably going to be close to a week before I get your bike fixed, and people were cool with that. They didn't care. They were saving a few bucks from going to the bike shop, and I'd never had an unhappy customer the whole time I was doing it. There were a few other problems, but, we're running out of time. I've been rambling on for so long that, I'm just going to have to wrap this video up. I could sit here and talk for hours about this stuff, but, I got to get back and start doing something else today. So, being homeless sucks. Hopefully I get to move soon. Jamestown is a miserable place. I'm not digging Jamestown. I just don't dig it. If I had to stay here, I would make the best of it. But if God's telling me to pack up and leave, I'm not putting up a fight. I'm really not. I'm just a little bit nervous about the unknown. I'm going to be walking into a bunch of unknowns, and, at least what I'm going through here is known, and I'm used to it. I'm used to the way things are right now. And so, but the Lord will walk with you and he'll take care of you. So I'll just keep that in mind. Don't worry about tomorrow. You got enough to worry about today. We're going to leave it at that. Peace out.